thanks for tuning in today. My name is Sam and this is my Fit Pregnancy Vlog. This is the end of week 18 for me. So I think the last video I did, I was somewhere around like 12, or 13 maybe. So it's been quite a few weeks, but we have been living the life of Corona and stay at home. So life has significantly changed from my last video to now. So I'm going to go over some like quick things that's happening in pregnancy, in terms of how I'm feeling and those types of things first, and then kind of like what it's like to be living in this stay-at-home quarantine environment and being pregnant through it too. So it's interesting. But I feel great. Obviously, that's the number one question that people ask you when you're pregnant is how you're feeling. I feel really good. My energy is way up from the first trimester. Now I'm really pretty much way into my second trimester, about 5 weeks into it. So my energy feels pretty normal compared to what it would normally be if I wasn't pregnant. I'm still taking in caffeine. I know a lot of people ask questions about that on a regular basis in terms like, do you drink caffeine pregnant? Yes, I do. I'm a caffeine junkie. Currently though, it's probably somewhere between 200 to even 300 some days. It just kind of depends. And some days it might be 100. So, but the max is probably about 3, but my norm is probably somewhere around 2. Most of that's coffee, and then I do make my own iced tea at home, unsweet iced tea, that I sometimes drink like middle of the day to kind of get through the rest of the day, because I don't really actually want coffee as much during pregnancy than I normally do in regular life. It's kind of a common theme in all of my pregnancies, as this is pregnancy number 3. My skin finally looks so much better this week. I still wouldn't say that it looks like my pregnant glowing skin that I normally have. But I've been really fighting breakouts really bad, especially prior to this week. Acne has been really bad. I've always been acne prone though, so it's not super surprising, but in my other pregnancies, I had like awesome skin pregnant and then like while breastfeeding. So my hormones definitely feel different this pregnancy, and I am a little bit moodier this pregnancy, I would say, but that could be playing into the whole Corona, being home with my family every day. So there could be other factors involved in that. My sleep is getting worse. I'm getting significantly heavier in this area, so I can't sleep on my back anymore, which I'm actually a back sleeper due to my scoliosis. So I'm sleeping on my sides, and then my arm usually goes numb, and it usually wakes me up, and I usually have to roll over the other side. But if I lay on my back, usually my legs and arms actually like wake me up because they start tingling and they get numb anyway, which I do often wake up on my back because that's how I normally sleep. So sleeping and my kids end up in my bed by the middle of the night. So sleeping has not been great. And luckily my husband's been letting me sleep in till like 9 at least. Probably that's probably the average. Somewhere between 8:30 and 9:30 right now since he's home, which has been awesome right now. I'm getting spoiled. My workouts, one thing is really cool about, I shouldn't say cool about the Corona because that doesn't sound right. It's not how I mean it. But one thing that's kind of cool right now in terms of just being pregnant during Corona for me is that now all my workouts are at home and they're now being documented. Whereas, prior to this in pregnancy, I was teaching 10 group fitness classes, sometimes more a week. And so all of my workouts really, people didn't really know what I was doing. But now if you want to know what I'm doing, you can just go on YouTube and see what I've been doing for the last 5 weeks, which is at this point, I'm still working out 5 days a week. I'm still doing plyometric training. I'm still doing strength and cardio, total body strength and cardio. At this point, I'm pretty much isolating. I am isolating muscle groups, but not in a bodybuilding style. I'm pretty much programming for myself and also for other people by doing these workouts online. So they're not bodybuilding workouts per se, but I am still doing a decent amount of isolated movements. And so my muscle endurance definitely isn't quite the same. It's not definitely at its norm, but it's still actually really good considering where I am in pregnancy, almost halfway. My legs don't recover nearly as well as they normally would. And so the weight is significantly lower that I'm using for my lower body. But for my upper body, it's pretty close to my normal weight, except for bigger movements like a push press and stuff like that. But otherwise, I'm pretty much using a lot of the same weights even currently for strength for upper body. My recovery has been much better. I think there was a transition where like going from doing the workouts that I was doing teaching isn't quite the same as you're still working out almost the same in terms of load from like, teaching just because of the amount of hours I was putting in, versus now I'm really only working out somewhere around 6 hours a week probably in total right now, which isn't a lot for me at all. But I was super sore when I first started working out at home. It was because I think I was isolating muscle groups more than I was for the last 12 weeks pregnancy, or maybe 7 weeks pregnancy. So I think I shocked my body a little bit when we, made this transition to not going to a gym anymore, and doing actually only my own workouts. But now I'm recovering a little bit better, but still sore. But I think everybody that's doing my workouts, we're feeling it right now. So I think we're all pretty sore, but yeah, so I think it's getting better though. But the intensity of the workouts is still high. So none of the intensity really is low. So I am working out 5 days a week, but the intensity is pretty high all 5 days. And in total, I probably am working out like 6 to 7 hours total at this point, because I'm really only working out about an hour to an hour and a half a day max. My diet is much better the last several weeks. It was terrible if you were watching the videos, it was really terrible like the first 12 weeks. No, between week like 6 and 12. I really don't count the first 6 weeks of pregnancy, because you don't even really notice that you're pregnant for the most part. They have small minor changes that I documented at like my week 4, but morning sickness doesn't quite set in yet. You feel changes like in your heart rate and stuff, but overall it's nowhere near significant until you really get into like that 6 to 12 weeks where you're feeling sick, for most people. So that all went away the last 5 weeks. But I really have like no cravings at all, which is boring, to be honest with you. And the only thing I'm kind of craving is saltier foods. Like this week I've been on like a Ritz cracker and cheese kick. I've been eating a lot of ham and cheese sandwiches on Hawaiian rolls, but those are kind of like the worst things that I'm eating at this point. I've had the occasional like McDonald's like sandwich craving, like breakfast sandwich craving or something like that, but for the most part I'm kind of back to don't really know what I want. But I eat a lot of tacos. I make a lot of tacos at home right now. I've been back to making chili and rice, which I couldn't even like handle that at all from week like 6 to 12. I eat a lot of oatmeal in the morning before I work out, or like Kodak pancakes. I make French toast for me and the kids. So yeah, I don't really have much of a sweet tooth either like I normally do. Like normally every night I have to have like some kind of sweet thing, like a cookie or something, especially pregnant, and I don't really have that very much right now. So I think it's awesome, but I think it's really strange. My heart rate in terms of my workouts too, which I didn't mention. I'm not sure what I talked about in terms of exact numbers before, but my max heart rate right now before I like pretty much go anaerobic is between like 170 and 175. So when I'm trying not to go into the anaerobic stage at this point in pregnancy, I'm way too big. Baby needs way too much oxygen, way too much nutrients, way too much blood flow for me to be thinking about going anaerobic. I get really close, but I wear my heart rate. I wear my Apple Watch and watch my heart rate and make sure I don't really go past 170. And if I do, I don't stay there for more than like 20 seconds. So I'm not doing any anaerobic training for the most part. If I get there, I pull myself back. And if I'm teaching it or coaching it, I might coach. you know, the video to go there. But I'm pretty much staying more in the 160s, staying in the high aerobic ranges for my workouts. They, you know, might be lower for strength or whatever, but for the most part, the cardio. And that's really not high for me, though. Normal cardio range for me, like, I can get into 175, 185, and I'm still talking and not anaerobic. So for me, usually, like, when I'm teaching, like, above 185 is where I usually will start going anaerobic, maybe even higher. So definitely a big change. My resting heart rate still is only like 160, which is high for me. But that's totally normal in pregnancy. Your resting heart rate's going to go up a lot more. So yeah, I normally would see like 40s throughout the day on my watch when it updates me on, like, you know, resting heart rates. And I haven't seen 40 and probably since I got pregnant. But those are normal things. Last time I was at the doctor too, my blood pressure was totally normal, actually. For me, like, normal is like 110, pregnant, like 110 to over like 70 something. But sometimes my blood pressure on a normal basis when I'm not pregnant is even like, I've gotten like 85 over 55s normal. So 110 is actually, it's higher, but it's still like my normal pregnancy high. So those things are still all good. I don't go to the doctor for a whole another like 10 days. So I'm even having nightmares at this point about the gender. Obviously we really want some female, some other female hormones in this house, but if it's another boy, I won't be mad. But I've definitely had nightmares that I'm having another boy, and the other night it was like I'm having another boy, and he was like crazy, like the wildest boy, like running all over the house, and you know, more of a funny nightmare, not a bad one, but yeah. So definitely, I am getting a little bit more antsy though now that our appointments due to Corona are 6 weeks apart, not 4. There's definitely some stress though that's coming with that. And I've noticed the last like week, I was like on Amazon a few times, like trying to see like what a fetal heart rate monitor is. And apparently, I don't think you can buy them unless you're a health, unless you're like a doctor. At least I couldn't find one that you could buy that was actually like legit. But yeah, so I'm starting to get a little bit paranoid. But I am growing. But at this point, like, you still don't really feel baby movement, or at least I don't. Typically, I don't feel movement or until like right at like 20 weeks. With Oki, I don't think I felt movement until like 21, 22, I think. Speaking of Oki. So being pregnant during this coronavirus pandemic has definitely been interesting. Like I said, you know, I think it's a little bit crazy for people who are, you know, first time pregnant, and they can't have baby showers and, you know, do all the gender reveals and all that stuff. I feel blessed at the moment that this is my 3rd pregnancy for me, just because going to the appointment's a little bit upsetting, you know, that he won't, you know, my husband won't be able to come with me to ultrasound in a couple weeks. But, you know, it's not the first rodeo, so, you know, I feel okay about it. I'm not upset about it or anything. I definitely feel for the people, though, who are in this situation, who this is their first time. So there's been, you know, as much as there's a lot of negatives going on, I think a lot of us can agree that right now, though, it's really slowed down our way of life, which has been nice during pregnancy, I will say. You know, we're not on a time schedule for anything. We don't have to have the kids ready to go anywhere. I don't have to be ready to go anywhere. I've been able to sleep more in the mornings because my husband's home. He's not going to work. He's working from home. You know, it's definitely put more focus on family, which I think is nice right now, being pregnant. And, you know, we're going to add a 3rd child to the craziness. And so it's nice to be able to spend this much time with our 2 kids and us being home right now. You know, that's definitely a positive. You know, and right now it's, you know, I think, you know, me and my husband are very fast-paced, don't sit down well type people. So it's definitely forced us to do that and really be present at home a lot. We're both still pretty motivated to work out. I mean, I think it's really helping that I'm filming a lot of my videos and posting them for all the followers that have been doing them, either with me live or watching them and doing them afterwards. That's helping me be motivated to work out too, because I know other people are relying on the workouts that I'm doing. So that's giving me purpose right now, which is really, I feel like, needed for most of us at this point. I feel like that's the problem. A lot of us aren't working, and you get a little bit more unmotivated and start questioning, like, what are we doing right now? What should I be doing? I've definitely just been finding little things to keep me motivated, either around the house or I've been working on my precision nutrition coaching certification. That has really just been on the back burner for months because I just didn't have time to do it between the kids and teaching and online clients and stuff. So it's that's been a good focus for me and giving me another purpose and goal to work towards. I think the other thing I said to my husband too is it's going to be really hard to go back to normal though. I feel like almost we have to have a phase in, like my husband normally wakes up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work, and he hasn't woken up anywhere near that time. I haven't had to leave the house at any certain time to beat traffic to get to, the club to teach, or have my kids ready to take them out of the house to go teach. So it's, I think life's gonna shock us a lot too when it goes back to normal. So I have to say I'm not looking forward to that part. As much as I really miss people too, I think because I'm in a household with 2 children and my husband, a lot of times I'm actually overstimulated versus under. I feel more for people who are home at this point, who don't have kids or aren't married or something, because I feel like, if in those situations, I can only imagine how lonely this would get. At this point, I'd feel like I'm never in a quiet space. That's why I do stuff at 11 o'clock at night. Even more so, I'm not even getting that alone time in the car driving to the club or from the club, by myself when work, where it's just me and my thoughts. I'm not even getting that. So, yeah, my husband's taking the kids out of the house quite a bit though, or vice versa, so that we can try to have us time. I'm definitely an extrovert, but I definitely have a lot of introverted tendencies. My husband is an introvert, so he definitely requires a lot of me time and decompression. But we've been doing a good job of teamwork, taking turns giving kids baths and putting kids to bed and stuff. So it's definitely allowed us to relax a little bit more together, because normally one or both of us is just too tired at the end of the night, or falling asleep on the couch at 8 o'clock on a regular basis. So, there's definitely been family positives to this. But really, I have not left the house. I think in 5 weeks I've only left 3 times. I think I went to the grocery store twice, and I think I've gone to Target once. So not a whole lot. Mostly my husband's been going out, so to do most of it, since I am pregnant, and it's probably not the smartest thing for me to be doing. So yeah, it's been interesting. My stomach has significantly grown. At the end of the night too, it's way bigger, but definitely a much more significant growth at this point in pregnancy. So definitely a lot larger than the last video. It's so much so that I've tried to go for a few runs, but I just feel so heavy at this point, because I'm not really a runner. But with everything going on in life, and you watch the news, there can be a lot of anxiety, right? So usually, when there's stuff like that, I can run. It helps, clear that extra stress or anxiety. But a few times I've tried, it hasn't gone that great. So I haven't been doing it very often. The other thing too, though, at this point, also definitely not done any isolated core work. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but I do have diastasis recti from all of my pregnancies, which is separation of your rectus abdominis core muscles. They usually go back for me almost all the way. I still have about a 1 finger separation usually, even 18 months. Although I never made it to 18 months postpartum between my first 2 kids. But yeah, so after about a year, it's about a 1 finger. But they separate pretty much immediately once I get pregnant. My abs separated at 10 weeks with Isaiah. So that was my first child. So it pretty much happens immediately for me. So I have not really been doing any isolated core work really since probably actually like week or 10 or 12, 11 or 12. Still doing planks though and mountain climbers. So anything in a stable core position, or unstable even, I guess you could say, but stabilizing my core I'm doing, but no abdominal crunches or anything like that unless I'm just demoing it for the video. So that's definitely something that you don't want to be doing in pregnancy is isolated core work, which I would think would be an obvious thing, especially past like 12 weeks, because it's just not smart. I did, see, it's getting late. I did order a pregnancy belt. I actually did not wear one in my previous 2 pregnancies, but now that I'm on the 3rd, I definitely feel like there's probably a lot more weakness going on through my pelvic floor and, my muscles, around my abdominal region. So the elasticity of my tissue, skin. So I did order on, and I'm probably going to start wearing that probably after 20 weeks in my workouts, just because my intensity is still pretty high and I want to keep it there as long as I can. But I also want to make sure I'm supported enough. So yeah, so questions, comments, anything you like, feel free to post a comment, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Yeah, thanks. Bye.